Okay.
So, hello everybody. I would first of all like to thank Ginette for organizing this forum and inviting and introducing so many great and inspiring speakers from all over the world. It's really great to be here and be able to share my experience. I will talk about the gluten allergy and other digestive problems, and I have really bad gluten allergy. With that, I would like to say that really bad means that in European Union you have some regulations according to which to mark food as gluten-free on the package, there can't be any gluten, or there can be gluten in very, very tiny amounts that are harmless. But I got reaction even to that food, and it was really bad. Like I would eat a really tiny amount, and I would get asleep in the middle of day for 2 hours, or I won't be able to concentrate and work at all. So it was really horrible, but I managed to heal from that, and I would like now to talk about a bit about the gluten allergies and share what I have found helpful to heal from it. So, first of all, I would introduce myself a bit more, and then I will talk about the gluten digestive problems and what are their causes and what I have found helpful to heal from them. And at the end, if there is some time and there would be some question, I will try to answer them. So I grew up with macrobiotics. That means my mother started with cooking macrobiotics when I was about 4 years old, and she got deaf on one ear, and within 1 month, being on a cleansing diet, she managed to heal and be able to hear again. But this experience frightened her so much that from that time on, she got really much into macrobiotics and cooking healthy food. And she was quite strict, uh, as a result of which my sister and I didn't really like it, and we benched a lot around all the time. And only then, when I got to university and I had all the freedom to eat and do whatever I want, then I realized like what great diet and way of life macrobiotics is, and from that time on, I just stick to it. So now I will talk about the allergies and gluten digestive problems. Allergies are now one of the most common ailments in the world. They are getting more and more widespread, and especially the gluten digestive problems are very problematic because there is basically no medicine that can heal them. Usually, what helps is only a reduction diet. There are like several types of these problems. The most light one is gluten sensitivity or gluten intolerance. And then there are allergies, and the most serious is the celiac disease. The symptoms are very similar. They basically vary only like in the seriousness, although like the also when they are defined medically, it's very hard to find out like at what stage the person is. But basically, like the sensitivity or intolerance means that the person has a very unpleasant reaction to eating gluten, like headaches, diarrhea, or some digestive pains. And the while the allergies and celiac disease also involves some uh, immune system reaction and production of antibodies to the eaten food. Um, so I further on as I speak, I won't make big differences amongst them because I feel like the treatment is very similar, and uh, to heal all of this, you basically need to follow like similar patterns. So it's only matter of how strict and how long you need to do that to heal. Well, so the symptoms can range. They're very different, and also one person can um, experience different symptoms when they eat different food. Like I got the different symptoms when I ate like wheat bread, and when I ate barley, like also barley caused some symptoms, but they were like lighter. Um, so the symptoms vary like from person to person, but also one person can have sometimes lighter symptoms, sometimes they can come immediately, sometimes they come after a few hours, sometimes on the other day or even later. It really differs a lot. And it can be like skin problems like itchy skin, hives, swelling, or you can experience headaches, bone and joint pains, some stiffness, or very often people have itchy eyes or sneeze, cough. They have nasal congestions, and then they have digestive problems like gas, bloating, diarrhea, constipation, or they can vomit, have acid reflux or heartburn, and very often it also um, uh, is connected with leaky gut syndrome. And what I found the most troublesome were kind of mental problems like confusion or poor memory and difficulties to concentrate and brain fog, which is like a state when so everything is as if behind some kind of fog. So you can't really put two and two together, and it's very difficult to think and uh, get to conclusions. So basically, according to modern medicine, the only thing that helps is a reduction diet, which means that you avoid food that contain some traces of gluten. And the problem with this is that this kind of diet reduces the variety of food that you can eat quite a lot, which is very difficult, especially when you are traveling or you need to eat outside and you don't have the possibility to cook for yourself. Then the things you can eat are very limited, and people love usually to continue to eat flour products, but most common flour products contain gluten, like wheat or rye bread. And so there are now many other flour products available, but these often contain very unhealthy ingredients like many artificial additives, sugar, and highly processed food, eggs, and things that actually uh, don't help people to heal, but they even more contribute to getting more sensitive even to other foods. So with time, many people experience that their choice of food gets even more and more limited, and then they like even more of the variety and nutrition, and then they like energy and vitality, and it further weakens them. Uh, some sometimes some people have very light uh, gluten digestive problems. It's only a sensitivity. Then many times it helps when they just avoid gluten for a few months and then they can eat it again. But many times they experience that after some period, these problems come back, and it can be months or it can be years, but it's like only like a temporary stage. So usually what do you hear that are the causes is either genetics or that the wheat itself is the problem, that it's hybridized and modified through cultivation, that it's very different from what our ancestor ate in past, and that it has even like different genetic codes than the old wheat, which is true, of course. Also, it's true that when growing it, people use many fertilizers and pesticides and herbicides, which are very toxic, of course. So that wheat then contains some residues of these substances. But the thing is that even despite this all, there are still people who eat these products and they don't experience these symptoms that the allergic people hear. So the question is that how it is possible that some people have very strong problems eating gluten and the other people don't, and what can we do to change our condition and be able to eat gluten again? Because if some people can eat it, then it means that it's still not like non-edible food, or it's not that toxic. So to answer this question, I find it important to look how diseases develop. Now, I would like to apologize, as many of you probably know this process already very well, but I find it just so crucial to understand how to heal from these problems. So when we are healthy and we eat well and live in a balanced way, then we digest everything well, and what we don't need, what our body doesn't need, then we discharge naturally through urination, sweating, and breathing, and bowel movement, or other activities like movement, what we do during daily life. And then when we overeat or eat something more extreme or unhealthy, then we discharge this in more stronger, like abnormal way. Like we can get colds or fever or start coughing, sneezing. We get diarrhea or constipation, and sinus congestion, many other like very light light problems. But when we then continue, yeah, and also it causes that our body needs more energy to digest this food, and that makes us more tired. So it's like the first stage of getting sick. So, but when we then continue doing this, then we might experience aches, pains, and stiffness in some parts of our body as the blood gets stagnated and doesn't flow so well anymore, or it flows just in excessive way. We might have headaches or abdominal pain, backache, various muscle and joint pains, numbness, and sleeping problems. And gradually, this excess carried by the blood then starts to change the blood quality, and the kidneys are not longer able to cleanse the blood, and then the organs and cells don't get the proper nutrition, and the problem starts to accumulate, and the excess then starts to build up in the body, and it usually accumulates foremost in the areas that are close to outside, where they can be easily eliminated. It can be compared like when we have a lot of rubbish at home and then we don't have really time to take it because we are in a hurry, then we just usually take it to the door. So then when we can have time, we can easily take it out. And our body tends to do the same. So it accumulates these excesses like under the skin, because usually it like like discharge the waste through skin a lot, and then we get skin diseases, and or it often accumulates in the sinuses, ears, teeth, gums, throat. Then we have many like breathing problems or inflammations later, and often also it accumulates in bronchi, breasts, and sexual organs, eyes, urinary tract, the bladder, and yeah, it's all like the areas that are very close to the surface to which the body then discharges the excess. So when we look at those reactions that we get when we eat some gluten, then it's often like some kind of this discharge, like it can like it's some kind of abnormal discharge. And now it's important to realize that the discharge happens when we eat some excess, but also or unhealthy food, but also many times it happens also when we adopt a more cleansing diet. So our body gets more energy and it is able to eliminate the excess. And as when this happens, the body usually does it because it naturally wants to be clean and be able to function well. So this excess can be from especially dairy food or fat forming food. So it's like cheese, milk, yogurts. These are like the most harmful foods when you have an allergy, but it could be also like fat forming food. It can be a lot of flour products, especially baked flour, and that is very difficult to digest for the body. And also sugar, it decomposes into fats and water, so it's also very fat forming. Also, what many people don't realize is that also fruit can be very fat forming. It's just another kind of sugar. It's more complex, but still it's quite simple. And then other sweets and sugary drinks and fruit juices. Also, uh, also raw food can be quite fat forming, and cold food like ice creams. And then also a lot of animal food contains a lot of fat, and it has very strong effects on our organism, like meat, eggs. It could be also shrimp, shellfish, and tuna, like very fatty fish. And this food also attracts us to eating more of the uh, like relaxing food, which is like sugar and dairy. So even if it doesn't maybe directly contribute so much to the gluten allergy, it makes us eat the food that's it's quite harmful to us. And then there are also other foods like salt and salt food, or spices and alcohol, which is also a very strong effect. While on the other hand, when we eat like whole grains, vegetables, beans, and other food, which is naturally very fibrous and nutritious, and our ancestors ate it a lot in past, it makes us healthy again, and it uh, helps our body to get rid of the discharge and cleanse. And I think that this is um, one of the reasons why particularly the reaction to gluten is so strong. Like wheat, rye, and other grains which contain gluten are usually very strengthening, and they help our immune system. And when we eat these, then it helps our body to discharge the excess from the extreme food that we have eaten before. And that's why we react so strongly to this food. And yeah, and another thing to consider is that as you might experience if you have some digestive problems, our body reacts very strongly to everything that we eat. Uh, Usually, we feel it very strongly when we drink some alcohol. It gets us very relaxed and dizzy, and we cannot concentrate so well. Or chocolate gives us lots of energy, but later we feel like tired or melancholic. And or for example, meat, eggs, and baked food can like tighten us and give us extra drive to do things. So basically, all the food that we eat have effects on us. When we stop eating stronger food like alcohol, meat, eggs, cheese, etc., then we begin to feel it still more and more. And then the thing is that it when it influences us, it means like it influences every cell in our body. And so our ancestors usually distinguish this food into two groups according to the effect that the food had on us, and to more like food that gives us more relaxing or expensive energy, like sugar, milk, alcohol, nightshades, salads, fruit, etc., which is classified as which is called yin food. like relaxing food, and then food that gives us more concentrated and contracting energy. That was called young food, and it's like, for example, meat, eggs, salt, but also sea vegetables, grains, and other food. And when we eat, we try to eat so that we feel well and balanced. And the thing is that when we eat this food, it really impacts like every cell and all the tissues that we have in the body. So when it makes us relaxed, it also makes the tissues more relaxed and expanded. And when it tightens us, then also makes the tissues more tightened. So, and the thing is then that our organs through which we absorb nutrients and eliminate waste, like lungs or intestines or our skin, is covered with a very thin layer of membranes. They are, they have basically like there's basically only one layer of cells, so they are very thin, and that is to allow us to absorb nutrients and also eliminate the waste. And when we eat food that is very expanding, then it expands these tissues, and that causes um, the the harmful substances to get through these membranes and enter our body and our immune system. Our body and our blood, and then it uh, causes inflammations, and it disturbs the processes in our body, and then we get these unpleasant reactions. And I think that it is also how what causes the brain fog. Um, yeah, that means the state when we cannot concentrate well, when we have difficulties to learn and process things. From what I have studied, I have understood that in our brain there is glutamate, which is a neurotransmitter, and this neurotransmitter is accounting for in total percent of the sympathetic connections in the brain, and it is especially involved in the cognitive processes like learning or memorizing things. And it seems that when we have expanded tissues in our intestines or lungs, then some harmful substances can easily get into the body and into our bloodstream. And when that blood gets into the brain, they can react with the glutamic acid, which contains glutamate, and they can render it inactive, or they can disrupt the process of glutamate release and uptake, and that disturbs the cognitive processes and causes poor concentration, memory, and brain fog. And I have observed that when this happens, it usually takes some time for the body to restore the balance. It can be several hours, or it can be more than one day. And I have found out that usually you cannot really like restore the balance immediately. But what helps a lot is to eat many seaweeds, especially kombu, which is very high in glutamic acid. And if you do so, then it doesn't like get well immediately, but it really makes a huge change, and you can work and function quite a lot better. So when I was allergic, I used to carry some seaweeds with me, like nori, and if that happened, then I would just take some of it, and it helped a lot. Well, other things that I found helpful is, of course, eating natural food, which is cleansing, nutritious, and it strengthens the organism, and it renews the vitality, which is in the first case whole grains, especially short grain brown rice, sweet millet, and other like millet, sweet rice, hatomugi, but also there are many other grains that you can eat, like sorghum, teff, quinoa, then gluten-free oat flakes or polenta. So there is quite a huge choice, but the most beneficial were the short grain brown rice, which is very cleansing, especially helps the intestines to get better and stronger. And then sweet millet, which gives more stimulation to body and helps to concentrate. And then other food that is very helpful are pulses. They are also very fibrous and nutritious, and they help to cleanse the intestines, especially from dairy products. So you can eat beans, lentils, chickpeas, occasionally some tempeh. There is really huge variety of pulses usually available everywhere. And then vegetables, especially like local vegetables, which are more firm, and it's good to eat a lot of root vegetables. They are very strengthening, like burdock, salsify, carrot, or kuzu. Then round vegetables like pumpkin, onions, and cabbage, and radishes are very helpful. They are very cleansing, especially daikon radish is very strong. And there is a drink that you can make from daikon and carrot, which is very cleansing. So basically, it's very easy recipe. You can take 1/2 of grated carrots, and then a 1/2 cup of grated daikon, and 2 cups of water. And then you need 1/3 of nori sheet and 1/2 of umeboshi plant. So you and then you can do it very quickly. You take daikon and carrots and put it into the pan, and then you add the water and put it to boil. And then you add the nori and umeboshi plant and let it simmer like for 3 minutes. And at the end, you add a few drops of shoyu. And then you just let shoyu simmer a little, and then you drain all the stuff, and you can drink 1/2 cup of this drink and store the rest in the fridge for next days. And this drink is really cleansing, and it helps the body to get rid of the excessive animal products and fat that you have eaten. So, and then another very important thing to eat
Anna,
is,
someone asked if you could, I don't know if you have time to type it. Could you repeat the quantity and I'll try to type it in? The quantity of the
quantity is a half cup of carrots,
yes.
half cup of daikon. Both carrots and daikon is grated finally.
Right.
Yeah. And then 2 cups of water.
Okay.
And 1/3 of nori sheet.
1 sheet of nori?
1/3.
Oh, 1/3.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And then you eat umeboshi, half of umeboshi plum.
Apple plum. Okay.
And a few drops of tamari.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So, and another very important thing to eat are dark green leafy vegetables because they are also very fibrous and they really help a lot to eliminate the excessive fat from the dairy products, and also help a lot to clean the lungs. And it's good to prepare them daily. You can either steam them or blanch them. To blanch them, you put the water in the pot and a little bit of sea salt and put it to boil. And when it's fully boiling, you put you cut the dark leafy vegetables and boil it in the water. It should be boiling really hard all the time. So don't cover the water and don't turn the flame low. Just cook it like this. And then when they are cooked, you take them out and put them under cold water so that they will still keep the very dark green color. And you can use, for example, kale is very good, or you can use cabbage leaves, or colored leaves are very nice prepared like this. And then very important are seaweeds, of course, as I mentioned, talking about the brain fog, because they contain a lot of minerals, which helps us to strengthen the organism, and they help a lot to the nervous system, which needs a lot of minerals to function well. And you usually, when you start eating seaweeds, you will feel much better immediately. And especially helpful is kombu, hishiki, nori, or wakame seaweed. And as for the vegetables, it is important to prepare them in many various ways to get different nutrients from them. And I found very helpful to prepare pressed salads. That means that's also very easy. You just at 1% of the weight of the vegetable, you add salt in the amount that equals 1% of the weight of the vegetables. And cut the vegetables very finely, and then put them for a few hours under some glass or something heavy, so they compress. And that in that way you get a lot of vitamins and very fresh energy, but you don't eat raw food, which would be too expanding in this case. Then also it's good to eat some white fish occasionally. And of course, it's very important to stay away from more extreme and fat-forming food, and food which makes us very expanding. Because when we continue to eat this food, it won't be very easy for our body to get rid of the excesses, so that was like dairy, sugar, fruit, alcohol, then a lot of spices, raw vegetables, meat, eggs, cheese, too salty and baked food. It's also good to eliminate flour products for some time, as these are also quite mucus forming, and avoid eating nuts and nut butters. These are quite healthy, but they are also very fatty. So if you want to cleanse, it's good to avoid them for some time. And I also found helpful to avoid completely oil for some time, because then it really accelerates the cleansing process. There are also many other things that you can do, like you can help cleaning by using by rubbing your skin with a hot towel, and also it's good to maintain a healthy lifestyle, move a lot, and stretch, walk in the nature. It's good to eat, good to wear cotton clothes, which help our body to breathe more naturally, and it also is quite soothing for the skin. And then many allergic people are often very depressive because their life is very hard, and to get into other mindset, I find it very helpful to sing a happy song every day. So, and also, if you can, it's good to minimize the use of electronics as much as possible. It gets our body feel more naturally and our energy feel better. So that was all that I meant to say. And if there is some time and somebody wants to ask any questions, then I'm prepared to answer them.
If someone has thyroid problems, they were told not to have seaweeds. Are you familiar with thyroid issues?
Yeah, I have heard that in that case, it's, yeah, I personally don't have these problems. I know that there are some disbalances, but I can't give any particular advice. I don't have much experience with it.
I wish you only health, continued health.
Thank you very much.
Anybody else? Christina, you also have mentioned that you have these issues. No?
Yes, Claire, thanks. I since last October, I went gluten-free, and it has helped the issues. I did want to ask the speaker, does she recommend any tests for, should we get tested to see if we really have a gluten or celiac allergy?
Well, I find the tests very unreliable, because, as I said, the reaction depends a lot on the instant conditions, like what do you have, in what amount, how much have you chewed your food. So sometimes people they take tests and they the results are that they don't have any problems, but in fact they are experiencing a lot of problems. So I find it more reliable if you just observe yourself how you react to different food. And if you have some allergy and get under the cleansing disease and for some time, you get on the cleansing diet for some time, and then you are not sure about whether you still have the issues or not, then I find it more helpful like to eat just very tiny amount of quite safe gluten, like good quality. Like I would, for example, what I did actually was I cooked rice with very tiny amount of barley. Like I would take 1 cup of rice and add 1 tablespoon of barley into it. So it's very tiny amount, and then chew very well, and then observe for several days how you feel, if you have any reaction or not. And then if it goes well, then you can increase the amount. If it doesn't, then just keeping the cleansing diet for a longer time and see. Then after a month, for example, try again.
Thank you. Thanks. I like that idea because I didn't want to get tested because then you have to eat it for like 2 weeks straight and then get tested. But someone also told me that I've never been really, I've had IBS, but not really big diagnosed with anything with celiac, but that in premenopause that you can be more sensitive to the gluten.
Yeah, that's quite possible because then you stop eliminating so much, like with menstruation. So the way it accumulates more in the body. And then you can become more sensitive. But with the cleansing diet, you can cleanse and then you'll be okay again.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I was told by Lino Stencic one year, sitting across from a picnic table at the French Meadows camp in California, he was looking at me and said, "You body is, you have a problem with gluten. You need to get off of gluten." And he said, "Oh, your body is full of mucus. You need to get off of gluten." And, if Lino says jump, you just say how high. And I did, starting that day. And about a month later, I noticed that I wasn't having headaches, and I used to get migraines. I haven't had a migraine since getting off of gluten, for one thing. And in the reading that I have done, there's another problem with wheat gluten, that apparently a lot of farmers, to increase their yield, a few weeks prior to harvesting wheat, they will spray it with Roundup, which increases their yield. So even if you are eating wheat, you need to make sure it's organic, so that there is the hoped promise that no poisonous sprays have been put on the product you're using. But for me, it's an ongoing issue too. And I have to say that I am not only tempted to, but indulge in things that I know that are not good for me on occasion. So, the idea, it's an ongoing process, getting rid of gluten and glutinous substances, and having your body always in some sort of flux that nobody else around you that you have to cook for has the problems with. So it's an interesting problem.
Yeah, this is good experience, and thank you very much. That's really, important reminder that it's very important to eat organic products which are not toxic. Yeah, I forgot to say. Thank you very much for that.
Yeah, can I say something?
Yes.
Thank you for your talk. Yeah, Denny Waxman was saying that you can revert back and reverse your gluten intolerance. I don't know exactly what he said, but he said, again, along the lines of, the poor quality of wheat that is out there. But he was like, start slow and eventually you can get there. And it sounds like that's what's going on with you. Is that correct?
Yeah, I had the really very bad gluten allergy. Maybe it was like celiac disease even, because I had reaction to food that should have been gluten-free, and it contained traces of gluten. I got really bad reaction to it, and you can reverse it in few months if you try. It's actually, you just stick with this cleansing diet and do other ways, like change your lifestyle for better, and the body can cleanse from these excesses quite fast. So I find it actually like easier to get on this cleansing diet for some time than eat gluten free, because that is really difficult. Very, yeah.
Do you want to go back to eating gluten, like the good quality?
I eat gluten. I eat all sorts of gluten. I also, when I was able to eat gluten again, then I started to eat it in enormous amounts. Like I would eat a whole package of seitan and I felt fine after that. Or I ate half of the wheat. No, it was rye bread. I ate half of the rye bread. It was fine. No problems.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really fantastic to be able to eat gluten again. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's worth trying it, definitely.
Yeah, who knows? We can get the other gluten people with gluten intolerance go to Macrobiotics if it was that simple, right? We could get.
Yeah, it's really like yeah, it takes some time to learn how to cook it, but I think it's still much easier than eating gluten free.
Right, totally. I had gluten problems too. So yeah, exactly. Not that I don't. I have to do probably be stricter with what you're doing. But yeah, thank you for the talk. It's awesome.
Yeah. You're welcome. It was my pleasure.
Michelle, how long have you been gluten intolerant?
I think it started when I was a child, very likely, like maybe when I was around, I don't know, 13 or 14. So it's like 20 years ago. So I had these problems for a long time, but I realized only like many years ago that I have problems with gluten, because when I felt like tired or had other problems, then people didn't know much about the gluten allergy at the time. So they thought that I'm lazy, and I thought that it's normal to feel unwell after you eat something, because people sometimes get sleepy after the lunch, or tired. So I thought that's just normal way how it functions. Then I realized it's not. And yeah.
Any other questions? And thank you very, very much. And like I said, continue to be healthy.
Thank you very much. If anybody had any questions later, then they can contact me at email. I will show it. So it's like my name and surname. I don't know. Can you read it well?
Yes.
So it's Dana, DANA dot Rabcanova, that is RABCANOVA at gmail.com.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Do you have a couple desserts you could recommend?
You mean gluten-free desserts?
Yeah, things that you go to for you. Thank you.
Well, I think very nice. It's when you eat, when you are still on gluten-free cleansing diet, then it's important to minimize dessert, so you don't eat much salt and oil and like very young food, and eat a lot of sweet vegetables like pumpkins, parsnips, sweet potatoes, corn, and things like that. That helped me most. I ate those daily. Yeah, I try to incorporate them in almost every food. but then if sometimes was not enough, then I would go for amasaki, which is fermented rice. It usually you can buy it in shops or order it on internet. Or I would use a very, very tiny amount of rice syrup. That should be not that strong, and add it to some grains, no, use it as a sweetener. So these were like main things. And you can also cook the amasake with kusu and a little bit of sea salt, and that will make it less strong and it will satisfy your desire to eat food. Or if
Thank you.
want
Yeah.
that strong reaction, you can also try eating some berries like raspberry with agar or kusu and sea salt. Like cook them a little and use this to balance for the expensive effect.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm glad I was able to help some people a little.
Could you hold your email up one more time, please?
Yes, sure. Can you see it well?
Yes, I can. Thank you. You don't need, right. I'll just hold it there a minute till I get my camera. Oh, perfect. Thank you. Beautiful.
You have it?
Thank you. Yeah, I have it. Thank you.
Great.
What country are you in again?
I'm come from Slovakia, but now I'm living in the US in Massachusetts.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much. Oh, that was
Where-
excellent.
Massachusetts.
Yes.
Where?
Oh, in Beckett.
Oh,
Oh,
Nice.
thank you so
Okay.
much.
Thank you very much. And I hope you helped a lot of people too. That's really important. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It was delighted. I'm delighted to be here and talk. Yeah.